Hi, I'm Steve Schmidt. I'm the Chief Information Security Officer here at AWS. I'd like to welcome you to Verified, presented by AWS Reinforce, where we'll be discussing the latest in cybersecurity, privacy, and the cloud. Today, I'm joined by Nupur Davis, the EVP, Chief Product and Information Security Officer at Comcast. Nupur, could you tell us a little bit about your background? What led you to pursue cybersecurity and eventually your current role at Comcast?
That's a really good question. So, I kind of happened into cybersecurity. And I think that's one of the things about, what we do. You got to be always open to new things. So I started my career as a software developer and, spent 10-ish years doing that and, kind of started going up the management chain and started working with the Software Engineering Institute at Carnegie Mellon because they were doing a lot of research in that space at that time. Carnegie Mellon was going around the world setting up emergency response teams, right, for cybersecurity. The whole insider threat, vulnerability management, all of that was happening there. So I got pulled into that, and that's how I joined.
Nupur, many companies are on a cloud journey right now. How do you suggest they embed security culture into the process of migration?
I think it starts with everything that security has always done, that collaboration. So, at Comcast, we stood up a Cloud Center of Excellence and had a very collaborative approach to this. So network engineering, cloud engineering, and security are all kind of equal partners. And we all come together and make sure that, we have the governance set up, the technology set up, the implementation set up, the rollout. And it's like, our one place where it all comes together. In the past, before public cloud, there was really a separation of duties in a organization, right? So the person who managed the firewalls, knew the infrastructure and the network and knew that really, really well. And the developers kind of, did their thing and then worked with the team. Again, that separation of duties. As we go to the cloud, the development teams are now expected to know that there's not only supposed to be dev experts, but infrastructure experts. And again, I'm going to go back to collaboration. That's how it works. You've just got to, the security team has to be like embedded with all of the other teams.
Nupur, you've spoken previously about inclusive hiring strategies. How is that fed into the development of Comcast's security program?
So one of the first things to focus on, of course, is hiring. And again, in that microculture, we focused on two things. One is what we call our ING-X program. And ING-X is really kind of Gen X and Gen focus on young talent. We also have a program called Act 2, which is the other side of it, right? Which is how do we take people who've been out of the workforce, and that is usually women, right, who step out for a few years to get to focus on family and kids, and how do we get them re-entered? So we will have specific positions that will just be open to that Act 2 kind of a population. I think a diverse leadership attracts diverse people. My directs are 50% women. Which is, I would love to take credit for it, but it's those women seek us out, and when there's a center of gravity, like when you have two women, there'll be more interest than it was just one. When there's three, there'll be even more interest than it was just two. So I think those three things is how do we attract younger diverse population? How do we get people who've been out of the workforce to come back? And then how do you, mimic and reflect that you are open by your own leadership?
Could you tell us a little bit more about the security program and organization at Comcast? The kind of things I'm interested in are, how do you measure ROI in that kind of an investment process? And how did you build the program itself?
One of the things that we do at Comcast is, especially for the security program, is, I really believe in what Deming used to call constancy of purpose. you really need to set kind of like a vision and a hill for the team to climb, and then a hill for that organization to climb together. And then, there's all of the minutia that you have to do behind the scenes, but you always want that, like, what is that next thing that we're going to conquer? And then the way we measure it, the ROI on it, when we started, our hypothesis was that, look, if people start building security in, then the kind of things that we find after the fact, when the product's been released and is being used, will start going down. And we just did our very first full, quantitative analysis, right? Monte Carlo simulation with analysis of variance, the full ANOVA analysis, right? And we can now show scientifically that adoption of those build security and early practices actually result in fewer vulnerabilities after the fact.
Zero trust is a term that's certainly bubbling up in everybody's consciousness right now in our business. And it's a trend that's been going on for a while. Given our current times, it seems even more relevant than it was before. Can you give me your take on how organizations should think about zero trust in the context of a broader security strategy?
So the question you asked is really important, because I think each company is going to think about zero trust in its own way. The way we think about it is really kind of, two parts. One is, the identity of every person, every device, and every application that is trying to access your corporate resources, right? Wherever they may be, public cloud, private cloud, in our data centers, wherever. The second part, which is just as important to us for zero trust, is this principle that we're going to assume that despite our best efforts, that something bad is going to happen. And when that happens, how do we limit the blast radius? And a lot of focus is placed on that, right? Is identity is the new perimeter. With people working from home, like I spend days now where I may be logged into my network half an hour a day, right? I can do all of my work outside it. So now, how do I make sure that the device I'm using, the network I'm using, and who I'm proclaiming to be are all trusted and verified?
One of the things I would like to expand on a little bit that I think is really important is many people think about zero trust as a way to deal with humans and the access of people, when in reality, one of the biggest levers we've got as a security industry is service-to-service trust and getting rid of it. Really is a great way to limit the expansion of access if a bad actor does make their way into something. And it's an area that I think a lot of people don't spend enough time or effort. Okay, no conversation right now would be complete without a discussion around the state of what's going on in the world at the moment here. 2020 brought a lot of firsts for a lot of companies. I know we've radically shifted the way we've done business. I'm sure you have as well. What are the sort of the first things that you've seen at Comcast, the stuff that's come up for the first time?
The network has never been more important. What we're doing right now is over our network. People are now going to school, working, entertainment, news. It's really the network is the backbone of all of that, right? And I'm so proud to say that all of that investment, billions of dollars over the years that Comcast has made in the network, has really stood up to this. So we really conducted tens of millions of diagnostic tests that we conduct, constantly. And we accelerated that even more during this time to go, here's an issue, how do we go deal with it? So we added, 35 terabits per second of capacity. This is on top of what we already had, right? This is just to handle peak capacity. 340% growth in our 100 gigabit circuits, right? Which is because, again, just to get ready to, and like you said, this is not something you can do remotely. These are our frontline people who go and do this work. They really are heroes of the company who have done this during this time. So amazing amount of investment in the network, amazing amount of focus, and amazing amount of acceleration. So, we had programs underway for things like, more artificial intelligence, more learning, more how do we kind of constantly see here's an issue in the network. Those roadmaps were accelerated by months, and we did things in weeks that weren't planned to be done for another 4, 5, 6 months.
Nooper, thanks very much for joining us today. It's been awesome to talk to you.
Steve, it's been really fun. This was great.